In this video, I'm going to cover 2 boxes because a lot of these games I don't have that much to say about, but there is some really interesting stuff in here. So this box is miscellaneous RPGs, basically RPGs that I haven't covered in the first 2 videos, and puzzle games. And this box is basically really nerdy games. Even though I guess a lot of the games that I have could be considered nerdy games. These ones are like really thick glasses nerd games. So Tsukuru, simulation games, and tabletop games. Yeah, and I'm gonna start with this one. I'll start with the Tsukuru games. So here's RPG Tsukuru, Super Dante, and I think a lot of people know RPG Maker, which is RPG Tsukuru in Japan. And I'm not entirely sure, but I think the title is a play on words, because Tsukuru is a Japanese word for to make or to create. But they write it as Tsukuru with the long ku. And kuru, when you write it in katakana like that, is cool, like the English word cool. So I guess it's a play on tsukuru, to make, and cool, the English word, because I mean, why else would they write it in katakana and with a long ku? But anyway, yeah, this is an RPG Maker game. If you want to make your own Super Famicom RPG, you can do that. And these beasts are more Tsukuru games. RPG Tsukuru 2, another RPG Maker. Sound novel Tsukuru. You can make a sound novel, of course. And so sound novels are you know, they're novel games, like visual novels, but with less visual, basically. If you played Kamatachi no Yoru, you know, those games with the silhouettes, and that's like a sound novel, basically. And this is Ongaku Tsukuru Kanoderu, which is, you know, music maker. You can make your own Super Famicom music. And I gotta say, sound novel Tsukuru is maybe the most poorly thought out game they could have possibly made. Because you're making a novel game, but you can only type with the controller. You have to like select each text character with controller inputs. There's no keyboard accessory for the Super Famicom. And if they had made a keyboard accessory, this would actually be a pretty cool game to play around with. But if you want to actually make a novel game, it's going to take like hundreds of hours to enter the text with this. So I don't know if anybody actually finished a game with this. It just seems so like they weren't really thinking. But yeah, I don't know. It's a cool collectible, I guess. I don't know. I've actually tried playing with Ongaku Tsukuru a fair bit, but I found the interface was just a little too difficult to figure out. And as I was playing, I did kind of figure out some shortcuts to speed up the process, but it was taking me a long time to actually make any music with it. So I think maybe if you study the manual and figure out how to use it more efficiently, it might be kind of cool, but I didn't have the patience for it. Anyway, the reason they have these big, Super Game Boy style cartridges is because you could insert an external data pack into the top of the cartridge to take out your data if you wanted to do that for whatever reason. And one of the applications of that is you could take your music that you made in Ongaku Tsukuru and add it to your sound novel or to your RPG, which I think is really, really cool. And yeah, those are Tsukuru games. This is Tokimeki Memorial, dating sim, very popular game. Densetsu no Ki no Shitade, which I think is the subtitle for the Super Famicom version specifically, but I don't think there's any major differences from the other versions of Tokimeki Memorial, aside from not having voice acting, so this is maybe not the best version of the game to get, but yeah. Okay, Kokaku and Beppin Jogakuen. This is a raising sim. You can pick one of these three girls that you see here, and it's a typical old school raising sim with a lot of stats and scheduling, and you can have them go to school or get a part-time job or do this or that. And the characters, they're kind of typical archetypes. You've got the stoic older one, the tomboy one, and the cute lolly one. It's got some really nice full screen artwork, which looks pretty good. But yeah, I mean, it's a raising sim. Okay. Some mahjong games. Yujin something Gakuen 2. I don't remember that kanji. But yeah, this is mahjong with cute girls. And Bishoujo Senshi Suchi-Pie, which is another mahjong game with cute girls. Let's see, Shodan Morita Shogi. Shogi, yeah. I mean, Super Famicom Shogi. The AI isn't that smart, and it takes a really long time to decide what to do in the late game. You can be waiting like 5 minutes for the computer to make a turn, but I don't know, I kind of have a soft spot for these old, obsolete shogi software, because I do like shogi, and I don't know what it is, but something about old shogi games just kind of appeals to me in some strange way. Okay, Monster Maker Kids. Really, really cute game. I love Monster Maker games, and this is a board game where you pick a character and roll some dice and move around the board, and there's different objectives and whatnot. And it's pretty fun. Like, I wish I had friends to play it with, because there's only so long you can play against the computer in a board game before it starts to get kind of tiring, but I feel like this game would be really fun with friends. It's just hard to find people to play Monster Maker games with. And this is Monster Maker 3, Hikari no Majutsushi. And this isn't a board game. This is an RPG, and it's my least favorite game in the Monster Maker series, because the older games on the Game Boy and the Famicom, they had more of a card theme to them, and they had a unique way of exploring dungeons where you flip over cards as you explore, and it's kind of hard to explain, but it makes a lot more sense if you look at gameplay of the Famicom game. But this one's just kind of a standard, typical JRPG. It does have a Dragon Quest IV kind of story where each chapter you follow a different protagonist, and then in the last chapter they all come together and form your final party. So that's nice, but yeah, it's kind of a boring standard JRPG. You can auto battle most of the encounters. And yeah, the final boss has an interesting sprite. I'll say that. But try and look up Monster Maker 3 final boss if you can. It's something, all right. Okay, now this box. Start with the puzzle games. Bishoujo Senshi Sailor Moon. Its camera won't focus, hold on. Kondo wa puzzle de oshioki yo. Yeah, it's a Sailor Moon puzzle game. I don't have a whole lot to say about it. Okay. Puyo Puyo 2. Super Puyo Runu no Ru. It's kind of a tongue twister. And Super Puyo 2. Yeah, I mean, it's, everyone knows Puyo. They're great games. The Super Puyo games are kind of like single player puzzle games where they give you a situation with a bunch of Puyos and specific Puyos that you have to use to clear the situation they give you. So they're pretty cool. And then Puyo Puyo 2 is like the standard, two-player Puyo arcade style. Yep. I'm just drinking water. Oh, sorry. Okay. Ys 4. Mask of the Sun. There's another Ys 4 on, I think, the PC Engine. And that one's a totally different game. But they, for whatever reason, they made totally different Ys 4 games for the different platforms. I haven't actually played this yet, though. Maka Maka. It's a really zany RPG that was released in an extremely broken, unfinished state, and this particular cartridge is corrupted. It'll go to the title screen, but when you press start, it just goes black, and that's it. That's as far as it goes. It's totally corrupted, and yeah, it's that kind of game where you can just totally corrupt your cartridge because it's so buggy. But I've heard it's kind of cool if you like quirky RPGs. Okay, Tengai Makyo Zero, Far East of Eden. Yeah, this is kind of an interesting game. It's got a real-time clock, and it keeps track of the time and the date. And there's different optional events in the game depending on what day it is and what time of day it is. You never actually have to, use any of that to like progress in the story or whatever, but it's just kind of there for fun if you want to see some specific events that happen at certain days of the year. Like when I played it, it was during the spring, and there was a Hanami flower viewing event in one of the towns, which only happens at that time of year. And yeah, that's kind of cool. But it's kind of like a standard Dragon Quest clone. Not a bad one, but yeah, the gameplay isn't super interesting. It's got a pretty decent story, some funny dialogue. Looks pretty good, really good music. But yeah, kind of a Dragon Quest clone. Heracles no Eiko 4, part of the Heracles series. I haven't played it yet. And finally, Sword World games. Sword World SFC and Sword World SFC 2. Other way around. Now, Sword World is a tabletop game. It's a pretty popular tabletop game in Japan. And eventually they made some video game adaptations. And these games apparently follow the tabletop rules pretty closely. Although I'm not actually familiar with the rules, so I'm not sure how close they follow it. But yeah, they're okay. I found them kind of dry. The first one is fairly non-linear. There's like a whole bunch of different quests you can do, and it didn't. I don't remember it having like an overarching story that held it all together very much. Although there's a little bit with some characters who pop up once in a while, but a lot of the quests are just, you know, random, unrelated quests. Sword World 2 has more of a story that you follow, and they actually made some drama CDs based on this game, which you can find on Nico Nico. And I rather enjoyed the drama CDs. Actually, I like them more than the game itself. But yeah, they're okay. They're just kind of dry RPGs, and they're really easy to cheese with magic. Unfortunately, so it's good to have a couple mages in your party to just blast through enemies. But yeah, that's Sword World. And that is it for these. I've still got one more box to go through, which is Nintendo games, Chunsoft games, and sound novels, which are pretty cool. I really like Chunsoft's SFC games, but I'm not going to do that tonight. I'll do that on another day. So until then, take care.